Hey, how's it going, everybody? It has been a super long time since I filmed a video, and I'm still a little sick, battling this crazy kind of cold congestion crap, but this is my first video that I've filmed here in Alaska. Sadly, I've not been able to film near as much as what I would want to, and that's going on me being here for over 100 days now. Right now, I am just exploring down here by the coast. My cabin and all of us canoe guides, our camps are back here, but I'm going to be heading this way. Actually, what I found right here is all good stuff. I'm going to be showing you a new knife that I got from a really good buddy when I went to Blade Show back in June. I left here in Alaska and I went to Blade Show to meet with some friends and help out with a couple of the booths there. The knife that I came back with, a buddy of mine said he specifically made it for me. He gave it to me for free. I want to put it through the test on camera. I've been using it off and on here, just for different stuff in the kitchen, just some woodworking fun stuff. But I want to make my first bow drill here in Alaska using woods that I've never used before from Texas. So I'm standing in a big pile of dead grass, debris, straw kind of stuff that I figured would make a good base for a tinder bundle. And I'm going to explore around here and try to look for some weed tops or something, and then head back into the thick woods and process a log and make a hearth board and a spindle out of it. So this stuff is pretty much up to my waist, but I'm not worried a bit about it because unlike in Texas, here in Alaska, we don't have poisonous snakes. So I can just walk through this and not worry about that, or ticks, or poison ivy. So I'm just gonna go scan this coastline, see what there is to see. I'm pretty sure I saw a bald eagle sitting down here on the coast. So I'll see if I can get a shot of it for you. Even out here, I can't escape the airplanes. You can see behind me, there's this big berm and this low-lying depression area, and then the actual water is out here. As crazy as what it seems, all this that I'm standing in will be underwater in a matter of hours. So where I am in this region of Alaska, in southeast Alaska, we have crazy tide changes. Every 6 hours, the tide changes, and it can be up to 25 feet. So this berm will be completely underwater, and this will be a super deep tidal pool right here. And then as that water pulls out, the silt and the sand all soak it up, and the water goes back out to the coast. So you got to kind of time stuff out here whenever you're exploring, because if you're out wandering around and forget the time, before you know it, the tide comes in and you're stuck. Well, I didn't get close enough to the eagle. He flew off down there. He was just sitting here on the coast. It's a lot further away than what you would think. So we got a couple of cool things happening here. The group of birds that I zoomed in on, those are a native gull here, and the eagles will try to eat their chicks. So kind of the little saying that we've come up with here is, when you hear the seagulls, you'll see the eagles. They'll flock and swarm them. The other bird that's chirping and making all that noise, it's really hard to see them. That's an Arctic tern. There's not a lot of them left here in the area because they've already started to migrate, but that bird has the longest migration pattern of any animal in the world. They'll go all the way down to Antarctica every year. It's pretty fascinating. So Arctic, T-E-R-N, Arctic tern. So they are super protective of their nest. They'll attack you and dive bomb you. Once again, I don't have any experience with that. This is yarrow, and it's up to my waist. That's crazy, huge yarrow. These other plants that have the dead tops are cow parsnip, and then the pinkish purple colored flowers are fireweed. Figured we could stop for a quick snack and get some strawberries. They're super good. Some monsters in here. Another big one's right here. Look at the size of this one. So we are back here in the forest. You can see it is really thick and dense. This clearing section back here is one of the bus roads that we use to take people up the hill up to the top of the gear shack where we can get them geared up before we get them out on the water in the canoes. There's a lot of trees here that I am familiar with that I've learned over the time that I've been here. The bigger ones that you see back here behind me are Sitka spruce. They have potato chip bark that peels off of it. And then some of these smaller ones like this one here and these to my left and right are either a type of pine or balsam fir. So I'm not quite sure what this is. It's hard for me to tell the evergreens apart right now, or the ones that have the needles on them, just because I don't have them back in Texas. And even though I've been here for over 3 months now, it's still hard for me to tell when I can't see the needles on there. So I'm pretty sure this is a type of pine, but as you can see, it's leaning. Now, what I've done is I've been playing around with some of the knives and stuff like what I was talking about, is instead of going for lower dead branches, most of those are rotted and punked out on the bigger trees. I'll look for the standing dead ones, and I just do a test of whether I can push them over. This one I know I can push over, so it won't take that much work for me to get it out of the ground. And then the other thing I do is I'll just get my saw and I'll cut into it and see if it's punky or if it saws like really good dry wood. And if it saws like dry wood, then I know it'll be a good candidate possibly for a bow drill. So I'm going to try this one out and we'll see if it works. So the outside is definitely punky, but the inside isn't. I think I can find a better candidate. So we're going to move on. So it turns out it should work just fine. I just moved down the base a little bit and got to the section that was further down. We're going to try this out. I've got a couple of sections here I know I can use, and we'll see if we can get a bow drill out of it. So I have the 2 pieces that I'm going to try to get a set out of. Behind me is my cabin. I'll go over that with you sometime. I've got my little working stump and maul that I made, and this is going to be my bow. I have no idea what this is, but I'll give you a close-up real quick and kind of show you what I did with it. So what I like to do with my bows is I just normally find one that has a fork at the top. I can just tie a bowline and then wrap it through that fork and it won't slip on me. And then when I come back here, I just take the tip of my knife and put a little bit of a notch right here. And in the beginning, I pull the string tight over that notch, and then I hold it with my thumb and start to do a couple of wraps around the base string itself. And then what I'll do is I'll thread it through the string, through the base string itself, and pull it tight, and that kind of pulls tension on it. I'll do some more wraps, and then when I come back the other way, I'll actually thread it over and go back the original way I was wrapping, and then I just do a couple of little half hitches on here to secure it. It'll loosen up a little bit and stretch, but I always leave myself enough of a tag on the end to tighten it and adjust it as it goes. So out of the 2 pieces, this one was the one that was closest to the ground by the base of the tree. And the more that I look at it, I think I'm going to try to get at least a small board and the spindle out of the piece that was higher up. I just like the way the wood looks a little bit better towards the center of the grain. So I'm going to go through and knock these little branches that are sticking off the top, take all the bark off. right, let's see how this is going to split. There are some knots, but I don't think they're deep, and they're about in the middle. So from this section down, the longest section I have, this will be my end, and this will be where my bearing block is, hopefully. So just like most bow drills, you just kind of split it to where you want to get as many squared sides as possible. Here come the knots. No problem. I am sweating, even though I'm not in Texas. It's been hot here, 70s and 80s, blue skies, abnormal weather for normal conditions here. We're used to the rain and the cloudy skies. There's some more knots there. So this might be a little difficult to get a straight spindle out of, but never say it's going to be easy, right? Man, that's a good one right there. There we go. All right, so I'd say about 25 minutes, 20 minutes, 25 minutes have gone by. This is about the best I can get it. So I will say I have gotten embers out of Bowdrill sets with spindles that look just like this, maybe a little bit worse. So it's all preference. It's all based on your skill and what you're able to do with what you've been taught by people and how they taught you. But for me, the issue that I always had with Bowdrill was my handhold and my form, and over time, the actual set itself, this and the hearthboard, have not been as crucial for me in the process of getting an ember as has the things that I struggled with, like my form, getting the right form and keeping my hand locked into my shin and keeping a steady base underneath me, and then using a proper handhold. So this is very ugly. When you roll it on a flat surface, it by no means rolls flat like a dowel rod, but I feel like I can get this to work. So I've already tapered the end down here, and I've already started to taper this end. But before I got any further, I wanted to show you what I do to make this easier to lock into the board. But first we have to get the board. But we're going to take a quick second and just kind of discuss the knife thus far. Like I said, I have been using this knife. You can see that it's got dirt, some patina spots on it, a little bit of rust up here. So this is CPM 154, or I'm sorry, CPM M4. I believe it's 5/32 thick, but it tapers down to next to nothing. So the weight of it is super balanced as far as it wanting to drive into things. Whenever you're going to slice stuff off the end, this belly here in this section really digs in really nice because your weight is forward. And a lot of that is the thinking of Donavon himself. He is primarily a knife competition or a competition knife maker. So if you've seen any of the Blade Sports videos on my channel, he makes those knives. And the knife that I've been using now for, I don't know, 2 years or however long it's been that I've been doing it, is one of his knives. So that's very interesting to bring into the mix. I've seen other people that do tapers or distal tapers. I've not yet used one, so this is my first time using a knife like this. The handle itself is comfortable. Like I said, his niche in the knife making community is first off competition knives, and then second, from what I've seen, it's game knives, like skinning knives, butcher knives kind of thing. So the whole bushcraft knife is new for him, and that was a big reason why he wanted me to use one of his and see if I like it. Another interesting thing I'm really excited about is this tip. Man, the mosquitoes and these biting flies are pretty bad right now. Is this tip, while it doesn't come to so it's not necessarily a full-blown drop point, I would say. It's almost a hybrid kep art. So if you look at the center of the body of the knife and you trace this up, it almost comes to a spear point. It's just offset just a little bit, but there's still a drop here to where it's not quite a drop point like a full-blown game knife, but it's also not quite a kep art. It's a little offset, so it's in between. But why I'm excited about using this tip to drill in the Bowdrill divot is he put a swedge back here. So it's a minor swedge. There's no sharpened edge on it. It's not a double-sided. It thins that tip down, and it gives it a little bit of a bite when you roll the side of your finger on it. So I can imagine when you go to roll the wood in there, it's going to want to dig that out. The other interesting thing that I've noticed as I've been using this, and don't get me wrong, I've done woodworking with it, but so far this has been pretty intense woodworking for this knife because of the knots and just this wood. This is kind of giving me a run for my money. I really like the fact that he brought the edge all the way down to the hilt or the choil right here. When your finger's locked in there, that edge is right by your finger, but you have enough of a guard that you're not worried about your index finger coming up and getting bit by it. The handle, I'm not sure. I like it. I like it in this grip. When I'm just holding the knife without any pressure or any torque on any object. I've been using it a lot in reverse grip to power through these knots, this chest lever grip, and it hasn't given me any hot spots here. It doesn't have thumb scallops, but it is tapered here, so it's really nice putting your thumb up there. For me, it's still, I guess it's still a little too boxy right here. And that was something that Donavon mentioned to me. He basically laid out like 5 knives and said, pick which one you want. I'll go get a sheath from Spin at JRE, and I'm sending it with you. And I picked up a few, and this is the one I kept picking up and picking up and picking up. And he said, it's funny because that's actually the one I made for you, and I was hoping you'd take it. But he told me that the handle might be something that he would work on because he's not used to bushcraft handles. So it's a new thing for him. He nailed the dovetail, the swell back here that your pinky index is on. When you put your pinky on there, your hand knows where to go. The only thing that I guess is a little bit uncomfortable is this section here. I wish the back, that's as thick as what it is, it's super comfortable. I wish the front met the back in a way. It's tapered down a little too thin right there, but it hasn't given me any hot spots so far. So I just wanted to go over that with you. That was pretty elaborate, but that's probably going to be the same issues that I have at the end of the video, so I'd rather go ahead and state it now while it's fresh on my mind instead of trying to remember everything at the end. But I'm going to maybe touch this up a little bit more. I'm somewhat happy with it. We're just going to try to see where this goes. It's a new wood for me, so we're going to be doing this together. If I fail, I'm going to show you. If I can't get it, I'm going to show you. But I at least wanted to try it, and I figured this would be a really good test for this knife. The other thing, quick note, is this is a full convex, and I am such a Scandi nitpick person. I love my Scandis. I want a Scandi ground on my knife. So it's been a new thing for me using this with the convex. It's not as difficult as a saber. I'm not a fan of sabers at all. as far as biting into the wood and removing like stock removal and whatever, but it's still new to me. So it's overall a good experience. It's getting me out of my comfort zone, and I'm getting to play with a new knife. I'm gonna work on this baseboard, and I'll show you a little trick or tip that I do, and then we're just gonna try to knock out a nimber. So you want to match up where your spindle is going to be, and then I just simply give myself enough room on the outside that it won't break off, and I literally just lift it up and put the center of the knife where the center of the spindle is going to be. And what I do to keep from getting injured is I'll hold the knife still and I twist the board like this. You'll see people twist knives like this, and while that's fine, when you come around this way, there's a chance of it popping out and going rogue. So I either only twist it away from me, and then I'll twist the board and twist it away from me like this, or I'll just hold the board. Now, the other thing that you want to keep in mind here is that the more you drill into this, the less material you're going to have. So I don't ever go in that deep. I just get enough of a little groove that it'll hook in there, and then after I finish carving the working end of the spindle real quick, I'll show you why this works together so well. You see how I'm angling it out, like making curved cuts, not just flat angled cuts? It's because I want to create a little island on the top of it. This was a trick that I learned from Joe Mobley. He told me about this a long time ago, and ever since then it's just been awesome. So the smaller it gets, the more precise you are with making a curved cut, and you just make enough of a raised surface like this that it'll lock into it, just like that. So that will fit into this, and it won't move out. It's really hard to move that out. And that way, whenever you're going, it's going to be wanting to move around, and it'll kind of stay in that little socket that you've created for it to go into. Alright, let's see about giving this a shot. So I'm just using an antler bearing block here. But we're just going to take it slow at first and just kind of feel what the board and the spindle are wanting to do. So far it's pretty smooth actually. I'm going to hold this still and move this little duff and stuff out of the way here. Now we're going to, what I call, trim up the set. My string is a lot looser, and I need to put my notch and just dress this up or trim this stuff up here. So what I was showing you just now is how I did the recess on the bottom of the board. All I did was start my notching off by just a push cut. So I'm not going to actually do it, but let's say that this is the edge of the stump, which is what I used. I simply just put the blade here at the angle that I wanted and rocked it a little bit to put a crease in the wood. Did the same thing on this side, and then after I got a little bit of a notch, I can now take my knife and slide it down like this and push and literally slice through it, and now I have two grooves on the flat edge of my board here that I can now set the board up vertically like this, and at an angle take a baton and cut a wedge out of the board. And then what I was showing you underneath is I'll hold the board here against my chest, and the only part that can cut you if you're doing it right is if your palm or the meat of your thumb right here is sticking up too high. So you put it down underneath, and now you can hold your knife like this, and you can literally pull this back to you like this to trim up the underside and make super fine little shavings like this to carve your little valley underneath it. And that's just going to help a little bit of oxygen when this is sitting flat. That's going to help. Like, this is what I showed a few people last year at the Pathfinder gathering, and when I went to go hang out with Dan, I told him in Texas we have humidity that's crazy, and a lot of times it's not that your board is damp, it's just that the airflow is not enough. It's sticky. Like, the humidity makes it sticky, so you need a little bit more airflow. So I'll chamfer the bottom like this so that there's a little groove underneath the board that whenever this is sitting flat, air can still get drawn in underneath there. And if I have to, in certain circumstances, when it's been super humid outside, I'll go ahead and take that little tunnel and cut it all the way to the back of the board, back here to where there's now a draft that can pull air into it. And you'll actually get like 2 coals, one on the bottom and then one up top. It's pretty cool. So I'm going to do that here with this one also. Went out. Well, lesson learned. Takes a lot of work. I'm out of practice too. It's been a little while since I've done a Bowdrill. I haven't done one since I've been here, so I just wanted to talk a little bit more about the knife. Overall, it's a really good design. Donavon, really useful in all applications in the woods. I haven't yet had a chance to do any major skinning or game processing with it, but I will in the future. For me, a learning curve. I got to get used to the convex. The CPM M4, really hard stuff, so the edge is still really good on it. It's just a different kind of knife than I'm used to, so it's a lot of fun using it. I apologize. I didn't end up getting an Ember. Just, I'm exhausted. Had a long day today. Yesterday was a long work day, so I just wanted to come and see how hard it would be to try it with some new wood. I'm going to hold on to the set and work with it some more. Maybe later down the road, try to get one with it. I'm just tired, ready to eat, hungry. But thank you all for watching. Could have a few more videos coming out before I end up heading home from this adventure. And until then, remember, get outside and enjoy the woods. Thank you.